Hi everybody, Barbara Manconi Smith here. I haven't seen you in a while. I've had a little vacation with my family, and then I managed to break a toe in my foot, and had a little viral issue with my stomach, and took my whole family down for a couple of weeks. But luckily we're better. I hope you guys are enjoying your summer. For those of you who live in this side the world. And for those of you in Australia and New Zealand, I know it's cold right now because we talk with some of you every day. So hang in there. The good season is coming soon, and the good fruit and vegetables as well. So today I wanted to come up here to talk about very briefly 5 exercises that you guys can do at home right now, even with me while you're watching this live or if you watch the replay, to figure out if your elimination pathways are open. The other day I posted something about the 5 elements that you need to consider every day to make sure that you are actually eliminating toxicity, and it was a big popular post. So some of you asked me, but what can I do for this? What can I do for these elimination pathways? So here are the exercises and or the tests that you can perform at home to see if each one of these elimination pathways may be clogged and so hindering your ability to actually process toxicity and eliminate it from your body. So number one, there are five. First of all, there are 5 elimination pathways that I want you to be aware of. That was the bulk of the post the other day, but let's repeat it just very quick because it's not something that is really talked much, and apparently I am the only one talking about eliminations here. So let's start with your bowel movements. We eliminate toxicity through your bowel movements. So how many times do you go to the bathroom? Ideally, you need to go 3 times a day. And this is true for you as much as it is for your children. You'll be amazed how many people come to me and think that their kid is constipated because it doesn't go even every day. And when I tell them that the norm should be 3 times, they're really shocked and they say, no, that's not true. My pediatrician told me that once a day is okay. Well, let me just tell you, it's not okay. I start with bowel movements and how many times do I actually go to the bathroom, because I see constipation, and by constipation I mean if you don't go 3 times a day, you're constipated. So if you go once a day, you're constipated. I know that the traditional medical community tells us that, if you don't go for a few days, that's constipation. But truly, if you go only once a day, you're constipated. So why do I start with the bowel movement? Because I see constipation being an early sign of what will develop then in the future as a possible autoimmunity. So all of my autoimmune clients, they all tell me that they've experienced constipation, whether they've been constipated for most of their lives or whether they have just have bouts of constipations, regularly. Constipation, and that means your inability to eliminate toxicity through your bowel is impacted, right? So, but just think about it. If you're supposed to go 3 times a day, and when we were little, imagine your kids, if any of you have babies, the babies, what do? They eat and they poop. They eat and they poop, and that's how it should be. At some point, though, as we start weaning off our babies and start introducing solid foods, and usually it's not necessarily always the good food, because with time kids get really picky, and so they just want to eat the mac and cheese or breads, and so what happens is that they start to be constipated, and so then we think that it's normal that they would go once a day, but the truth is that they should be going 3 times a day if they have generally 3 meals a day. And the same is true for us. So when things work smoothly, and when you are on the right type of nutrition, and when your elimination through your bowel works perfectly, you are going at least 2 to 3 times a day. 3 is really the norm. So when that doesn't happen, then you have to ask yourself, where is that toxicity or the waste material that was supposed to go out through my bowel? Where is that going if I'm only going once? What is it going if I don't even go once? Because some of you tell me, sometimes, Barbara, I go every other day. So where are the 3 elimination moments that you're supposed to have on a daily basis? Where is that elimination going? It's staying in. That's what I call hoarding toxicity. Because it's not that you make up the next day for it, so you're basically behind for every bowel movements that you don't do when you have, and again, unless you're fasting or specific conditions, but if you have a normal nutrition, even when you're cleansing, you should be going 3 times a day. In fact, when you're cleansing, sometimes you even go more, right? But on a regular basis, you should want to look at 3 times a day being the norm. And if that doesn't happen, then we have issues and we need to address them. The second elimination pathway is your kidneys, are your kidneys. You have two. So now, when we do our lymphatic reset, I want people to check the functionality of their kidneys 2 ways. One, and this is one of the tests that you can do at home, so you can write this down. One is to pee in a jar, the famous or infamous pee test that you can find on my website on barbaramanconismith.com. You pee in a jar the first pee of the morning. Now, some of you may say, Barbara, I go to the bathroom a lot during the night. Should I pee? No. So you start collecting your pee from 4 a.m. on. So if you wake up before 4 and you pee, you do that in your toilet. But if you do wake up after 4 a.m. and you pee multiple times before you end up waking up for the day, then you collect in the same jar the pee from 4 a.m. on. So let's say that you wake up at 7. If you go a couple of times from 4 to 7, you collect your pee in the jar. You close it with a lid and you leave it for 24 hours, somewhere where your kids cannot reach it and somewhere where you're not going to forget it. And so 24 hours later, you're going to check. What you want to see is sediments at the bottom. Now, I've done few thousands of people have done my lymphatic reset, and I have to tell you that the majority of them, when they start, their pee is really clear. And that's kind of normal. But what it's telling us is that your filtration through your kidneys is not effective. Now, we can see this easily when we talk about bowel movements, because if you poop, you see it, right? And you know that material is being eliminated, waste material. With the pee, we pee regardless. We pee no matter what. So there's a conviction that, well, if we're peeing, we're eliminating. That is not true. So your pee can tell so much about the state of your kidneys and your elimination pathways. So you want to see sediments. The second exercise that I make people do or test to see the the health of their kidneys is to take the blood pressure. So we take our blood pressure in our lymphatic reset 3 times a week, always at the same time. And what we're looking at is values for systolic and diastolic that are around 120/60. Now listen carefully, because that's not what you want to hear, what you're going to hear from your doctors. If you go to the hospital, if you go to the doctor, they will tell you that your blood pressure is normal within 120/80. But 80, it's absolutely not a value that we are accepting in relationship to the health of your kidneys. So when you look at the two numbers, I want you to focus on this. Your top number, 120 or something around that, talks about the health of your adrenals. And I know that specifically in this group, adrenals are a big topic, because a lot of you are suffering from adrenal fatigues or adrenal depletion and whatnot. Just today, I was just following a post about salt. So adrenals are key, and you're going to find, without asking yourself, am I tired? Could this be adrenal fatigue? Could this be neurological fatigue? Some people just take it for granted that they have adrenal depletion just because they're stressed, but that's not necessarily true. So what you want to do to effectively see if your adrenals are working properly is to take your blood pressure. Anybody can do this at home. Even if you don't have a lot of ability to move, you can take your blood pressure, take it at the same time. It doesn't matter, morning, afternoon. But if you want to do, I always ask my clients to do three checks. Doesn't have to be 3 consecutive days, but it could be 3 days within the week, always at the same time, because there is a difference between your blood pressure in the morning and your blood pressure in the afternoon. So for those of you who are coming in now, what we're talking about is 5 different elimination pathways and how can we check on the health of these pathways, right? So we just talked about the elimination through your bowel. Now we're talking about your elimination through your kidneys. But why am I talking about adrenals? Well, in your body, your adrenals are sitting on top of your kidneys. In Chinese medicine, they are one organ. That means that if your adrenals are not working properly, your kidneys are also not filtering properly. So most often, most of you who are experiencing chronic fatigue determined by the adrenals, so adrenal fatigue, adrenal depletion, adrenal exhaustion, are also experiencing impaired ability to eliminate through the kidneys. Does this make sense? Because it's really important that you understand that. So when we look at our blood pressure, what we look is the health of your adrenals and the health of your kidneys. I also ask my clients to measure the blood pressure on both arms, so left and right. Why? Because you have two sets. So that means that your left side, your left kidneys and adrenals, might be working more efficiently than your right side, and that's normal. Or sometimes it's just when you see the values being fairly equal, then it means that pretty much they are at the same level, right? But it's possible because there are two separate sets and they don't all work at the same level, that you might see some discrepancy. So take them on both arms and take them 3 times a week, and then you do an average, okay? So as I said, elimination through your kidneys is fundamental, and it's also very underrated because we pee, so we think that we are eliminated. Not true. So it's important that you understand that if you see sediments and if you see the values of your blood pressure 120 over 60, that is going to tell you a little bit where obviously it could be 118 or 122, that's fine. But a lot of you with a severe adrenal fatigue, I see you guys at level of 90, 95, some people even 85, when the value should really be around 120. So that can already tell you if your adrenals are in a good shape. And then the bottom value will tell you what's the status with your kidneys. So when we see values of 80, 75, 90, 45, we know that the kidneys are not working properly. And so there's things that can be done, of course, right? So that's your second check. The third elimination pathways, believe it or not, is your lungs. Are your lungs. So when you breathe in and out, when you breathe out, you also breathe out toxicity. So it's important that you are aware of how well you breathe. Now, in my experience, I'm going to give you now an exercise to do. Most of us are shallow breathers. So the exercise I want you to do, and I want you to write this down. Now, you don't have to do it with me right now, but that's what you're going to do. You're going to take 3 deep breaths. So you inhale once, you exhale once. Then you inhale again twice, and you exhale twice. Last time, you inhale again once. And when you exhale, you make sure that you exhale all of the air out of your lungs. So listen to this. On your third exhale, you exhale all of the air out of your lung, and you make sure you have your phone with you where you can do check the seconds, and you start your stopwatch and you hold your breath once the air has left your lungs. So usually when we do this check to see how long we can hold our breath for, it's when we take a deep breath. But this is not the case. I need you to eliminate all of the air out of your lungs, and that on the third time, and that is when you start your clock watch, right? So what you do, you hold your breath for as long as you can once the air is all gone from your lungs. So what I want you to look at is how many seconds can you hold your breath. Why? Because we said that the third important elimination pathways, elimination of what? Of toxicity, of course, is your lungs. So most of us do not breathe properly. So if you're not able to maintain your breath for at least 45 seconds to 60 seconds, which is the optimal range, anything below that, and trust me, I've got anywhere with my clients from 17 seconds to some people 10 seconds to 30 seconds. But again, if you can't hold it for 45 to 60, you are a shallow breather. What does that mean? It means that even if you don't hear it, even if you're not aware of it, the way you're breathing is what does that mean for us? Well, that means that, first of all, you're not getting enough oxygen inside. And you know what it means? It means that when you're not getting enough oxygen, the body, that is always so smart, is called to make energy efficiency decisions. So if instead of getting 100% of the oxygen with every breath that you're supposed to get, you're getting 80, 60, you'd be surprised. Some people, they are at 40%. That means that the body has to do and perform all the functions that it needs to perform with that oxygen at 40% capacity, 50, 60% capacity, even 80. But now when you multiply this for weeks and months and years in which you have been shallow breathing, This means that the amount of oxygen that comes into your body is way restricted, and in itself, your shallow breathing could give cause to a lot of the imbalances that you are experiencing right now. So it's really important that you focus on your third elimination pathway that we're discussing today, which is your lungs and your breathing. So if you find out that you're not able to hold your breath for 45 seconds or more, then you know that you gotta work on your breathing. And how do you work on your breathing? Same way as you go on the treadmill. You gotta do it every day, multiple times a day, and you work on expand. You do some diaphragmatic type of breathing, and you work on it a few times a day. I even ask my clients to actually put a reminder on their phone so that every so often they have to remember to breathe. And as you expand and inhale and exhale with this activity, your muscles will also expand and maintain the memory. So again, this is not going to happen overnight, but it's something that I want you to be aware because you do eliminate toxicity through your breathing. Thinking also about the lymphatic system, which is your sewage system and the only sewage system in the body. You don't have any others. The lymphatic system doesn't have a pump like the heart and the blood system. So it needs our ability to move, and in particular to breathe, to move. So if you're breathing in a shallow way, then you are also affecting the ability of the lymphatic and the lymph to move through your body, and so to push out toxicity from your body, which is what we're discussing here today. Now, the fourth elimination pathway is your skin, also known as your third kidney. So a lot of you I know are very familiar with the fact that anytime you're detoxing, or if you're detoxing too fast, you're going to see it on your skin. A lot of you experience acne, a lot of you experience eczema, psoriasis, you experience rashes or just tingling or itches because the body is trying to push the toxicity out through the skin, right? So for this, it's really important that you keep your skin in top shape in two ways. One, that you daily dry brush, because you want to open these pores, because as the body tries to push toxicity, and mind you that through each one of these elimination pathways, you eliminate different type of toxicity. You don't eliminate the same toxicity through your bowel that you eliminate through your skin. So the body is built and designed in an amazing way. So it's important that you understand that. So you want to keep your pores open. You want to remove all of your dead cells. And this is an activity that you do on a daily basis. Not once in a while. It's not the same result. I tell my people every time we are doing our lymphatic reset, everything I give you guys, it's being studied, vetted, and tested. So when I tell my people that you need to drink a gallon of liquids a day, if you drink less, it's not going to be the same results. So if you don't dry brush every day, it's not going to be the same results. And if you don't do your breathing exercises, it's not going to be the same results. You need to stop hoarding toxicity, which is what brought you here in the first place, and you need to truly start eliminating. So dry brushing every day to make sure that your skin is in top shape. And then the second part is to help toxicity go out, is to sweat every day. I'm not talking about working out sweating. I'm talking about infrared sauna. I'm talking about Epsom salt bath. And for those of you who are not able to get into a bath for mobility issues, you can resort to a foot soak with Epsom salt or magnesium chloride, which is a better form, a purer form of magnesium. So it's a little bit more expensive. You can find it at Whole Foods, like Ancient Minerals has it, for instance. It's called magnesium chloride versus magnesium sulfide, which is what you find in the Epsom salt. Now, it's very cheap, the Epsom salt, so if that's all you got, that's fine. But if you can spend a little bit more, look for magnesium chloride in your health food store, and you use the flakes in your bath. Now, the bath doesn't have to be super hot. I know that some of you are telling me, Barbara, I'm heat intolerant. It doesn't have to be super hot if you can tolerate it. But what I want you to do, that's a trick and a tip that I give my clients, and I'm giving you all the information here, guys, is to sip ginger tea while you're taking your bath, because the ginger will promote more sweating. So what you do, you drink it after, either while you're in the bath or during or after the bath, you wrap yourself with a robe and you lay down after your bath for 10-15 minutes, and then you should start sweating profusely. Now remember that before that you are doing your dry brush, because you want to sweat when your skins are open, your pores are open, right? So you dry brush before and then you take your bath. And this can be done every day as well, because sweating, just like breathing and pooping and peeing, should be an everyday thing, you guys. And again, it doesn't have to be sweating through working out. Although I absolutely encourage you to go, especially in the summer, out in the sun every day. And when I say out in the sun, I always say, depending on your skin tone, you want to have as much skin exposed as possible and no sunscreen. So if you have light skin just like mine, you want to be 5 to 10 minutes with no sunscreen, and then if you want to stay longer, of course you apply sunscreen. If you have a little bit darker tone, then you can get to 20 minutes, all the way to, let's say, dark skin, black skin, where they can maybe get away with 40-45 minutes with no sunscreen on the skin. So it's important that you take sun every day. So whether it's a walk, whether you can just walk to a bench and just sit there, whatever you can do. This is not about doing movement, which is important, of course, but just see whatever you can accomplish with, however you, with your health state. But it's important that you get out of the house and see the sun every day. That is fundamental for your for your well-being. Now, if you stay in the sun and you start sweating, this is amazing. So bring a little towel or some water wipes with you, and then you can just pat the sweat off. But it's important that you do that with open skin, so open pores, clean skin. Go in the sun and see if you can sweat that way. Otherwise, infrared saunas, amazing, even daily, and or Epsom salt bath. Okay, so for those of you coming here just now, let's recap. The first 4 elimination pathways are your bowel, so 3 bowel movements a day, or else you're hoarding toxicity. Your pee, so I gave you the 2 tests to do to see how is the health of your kidneys, your pee test and your blood pressure. Number 3 is your breathing, and I gave you the exercise to do to see if you're a shallow breather, and that means that the amount of oxygen coming in, it's much less, and so your body is being under stress, and also you're not eliminating properly the toxicity through your lungs. The 4th elimination pathway is being your skin, also known as your 3rd kidney. So, and I gave you the tools on how to prep your skin and what to do to start sweating toxicity through the skin. For instance, we sweat metals through the skin. So for all of you dealing with heavy metal toxicity, having this routine of prepping your skin and doing your sweating through infrared saunas or bath and or walk in the sun, it's fundamental. So if you're dealing with any type of heavy metal damage, I encourage you I want you to do them all, but pay specific attention to your skin. I told you before that we are not eliminating the same toxicity through all the different channels. For instance, some of you with hormonal issues, some of you that may have been diagnosed with estrogen dominance, ask yourself if you are constipated. Why? You'll be impressed, but I see how the two are connected. So we eliminate the excess estrogen through our bowel movements. If you're constipated, you're not eliminating it. So the estrogen keeps going in circle. So these are like few tricks and tips that I give my people when we do our lymphatic reset. But it's important that you understand this. So we're not eliminating all the same toxicity through the different channels. So each channel is specifically for specific toxicity. Last but not least, our 5th elimination pathway is our tears. Now, if you heard me talking before, or if you're new to this group or to my videos, you guys know that I'm really big on emotional toxicity. I have a whole program called Soul Circle dedicated to release emotional toxicity, because when I told you that you guys are hoarding toxicity, that toxicity is physical as much as it is emotional. So yes, you're keeping in viruses, bacteria, you're feeding them with hoarding toxicity. So if you have metals, if you have mold, if you have environmental toxicity, EMF, all the things that toxicity, the glyphosate, and then you have also viral load, again, in itself, and that's another story, and maybe you can see this in other videos that I've done. In itself, viruses are not enough to wreak havoc your health, they have to be the right conditions. That is why your husband or your mom may have the same load, the same viral strain, but don't have your situation. So in order for your viruses to replicate, they have to be fed. And most often when we are not having our elimination pathways open, we're hoarding toxicity, and the viruses have plenty of food to feed off and replicate, right? And I'm talking about every viruses, because viruses work the same way. So fifth elimination pathways is your tears and your emotional toxicity. When I wrote this post, many of you kind of liked and commented on. Some of you wrote the fact that you are not able to cry, and then even if you watch a sad movies, is not able to cry. So obviously, if this is the case, and some of you even wrote, "I want to cry, I just can't cry." So now, some of you wrote, well, try to watch a sad movies or listen to a sad song. But obviously, if you're not able to cry, it's basically just saying that you're emotionally constipated. It's truly what it is. So today I just had a client before this live, and she started crying because we started talking about things, and I was provoking her. She cried, and she said, "I'm so sorry, I don't want to cry." And I said, "No, what I usually say is, if you don't cry, I don't do my job. So now I don't want you to pee and poop in front of me, but cry is something that we can do." So if you feel that you are not able to cry, or maybe you've had this congestion, so to speak, right, for a long period of time, you've noticed this, you're aware of it, then there's work that needs to be done that is deeper kind of work. Like, I mean, just watching a movie and try to force yourself to cry is not going to do, because what are we eliminating through the crying, right? I said we're not eliminating all the same toxicity through each different pathways. So through crying, we of course eliminate the emotional toxicity. Emotional toxicity that could be chronic, meaning you hate your job and every day you're going through that job, and that toxicity starts to build up inside, right? But you repress it because you have to make means and so you have to continue to go to the job. Maybe a relationship you're in, maybe the loss of a loved one, maybe a situation that you haven't really passed, bullying, mobbing at work, a difficult relationship with your children at times, whatever that may be, the overall sense of anxiety due to the pandemic, the lockdown, the vaccination, and all that. So all this toxicity we're keeping inside. And if we never eliminate it, if you never bring it to the surface and bring it up to our consciousness, then it means we're suppressing it. Someone that doesn't cry or is not able to cry has a deeper rooted issue in it that needs to be addressed. Like someone that is not able to sweat. I have people telling me, "Barbara, I do whatever, I stay in the sun, I go in the sauna, and I still come out dry." So there is an issue there is congestion that needs to be addressed. As far as it's concerned, for the emotional release, it's important that we start doing some kind of work that is the work that I do in the Soul Circle, and I see miracles happening there. But on your own, to begin with, I would suggest to get into the habit of doing some tapping. The reason why I love tapping, also known as EFM, EFT, emotional freedom technique, is because the tapping, if you guys have ever done it or ever heard of it, and I have videos about tapping as well, you can go on my YouTube channel, you can go on my website, barbaramanconismith.com. The tapping, the premise of the tapping is not to push down or to just eliminate without awareness what is being affecting us. The tapping wants you to, when you do your tapping series here and throughout the body, wants you to bring to your awareness what is the problem. So when we tap and we start expressing our feelings, we're not it's the opposite of repressing, it's the opposite of congesting. We are expressing, we are not depressing. So with the tapping, you start bringing up what the real issue is, what the feelings are, and again, you don't have to go in it knowing what you're going to say in the tapping. You don't even have to go. It's like journaling, which is another way of expressing yourself, right? And releasing this emotional toxicity. You don't have to know. I have people telling me, "Barbara, I have a journal, but I hate it. I never know what to write." Well, because you have these expectations and preconceived notions of what journaling looks like, or what you're supposed to do, or what's supposed to happen. All I ask is that you find. For my clients, I mandatory ask 2 hours of self-care a day. 2 hours. But you know, some of my clients come to me and they are really not doing well. So 2 hours of self-care should be something that we should all be able to achieve easily when we have a 12-hour day and sometimes more. Now, it doesn't have to be all at once. You can carve sometime in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, whatever your life is. If you have a baby, sleep or take care when the baby is sleeping. But 2 hours is not too much to ask. So in the 2 hours, you do your meditation, your journaling, and again, taking a bath is not necessarily, this should be part of your hygiene routine or whatever. So, and self-care is not you washing the dishes by yourself and thinking, okay? That's not part of self-care. So 2 hours of self-care, doing your juices is not self-care. That's just feeding yourself. I'm talking about 2 hours of self-care where you can journal, you can breathe, do breathing exercises, you can do your walk in nature, you can do some meditation. Or maybe start putting together your vision board and what you want your life to look like, you know, going forward. Because, you know, another issue and another obstacle that I see often is that a lot of you are aware that the way you are living is not a healthy way. And I'm not talking about your nutrition, because possibly most of you are really good with the nutrition. But there's so much more that you swallow that is not on your plate. So you are aware of it, and yet you keep doing the same thing over and over again. You're so good with your juices, you're so good with your supplements, and yet you keep doing this over and over again. This life that doesn't belong to you anymore, that is harming you. Just today, the lady that I saw before you, she had a very paralyzing back pain. And when we start talking, I realized that this back pain, she actually realizes herself and admitted, is more of an emotional pain that the body is now embodying to express on a physical level what the soul is feeling, which is she can no longer go on the way she is. You know, we know this, but we keep pushing because maybe we have kids to take care of, maybe we have a job and, you know, bills to pay and all that, and we keep pushing. Just today, I read some of you telling me about how this situation with the vaccine, depending on what your job situation is bringing anxiety because it might lead you to lose your job. And so obviously the anxiety that comes with it. Now, all of this, you guys, is toxicity. But all I want you to do, especially if it's in relationship to the immunization and whatnot, I want you to take this as an opportunity to start sitting down and, as I said, put your mood board out there. What do you want your life to look like in 3 months, 6 months, 3 years? And what are you doing today to get to that point? Because, you know, saying that you want to change job but you never do anything, it's not going to change things, and it's still going to bring you in a position of continue to hoard more toxicity. So what you need to do is truly get to a point where you put a plan in action. And so if you want to change your job, what are the steps? If you want to improve your relationship with your spouse or daughters or whatever that may be, what are the steps that you're putting in place? You know, you need to start act on the things that you want to accomplish, because they're not just going to happen simply because you're juicing. You know, yes, you may feel better, but I promise you that in all of us, a lot of the toxicity that we're hoarding and even a lot of the imbalances the body's expressing have an emotional root cause. And I know this now after years and years of coaching you guys, especially through the soul circle. So it's important that we balance things out. It can't just be obsession about what I eat, you know, canola, low fat, you know, stuff on the side. It has to be also taking care of your emotional well-being. Now, I can go on and on forever. If you guys watch my YouTube channel, you will find a lot of the talks about emotional toxicity, fear-based decisions in life, and all that. So, but today I wanted to keep it concise onto these 5 elements that I want you to take home, okay? 5 elimination pathways, each one of them equally important. Because actually, each one of them doesn't work and you could die of it. And I want to repeat this, not to put fear into you, but to make sure that you understand the importance of taking care of all of them. You can just take care of your bowel movement when the other 4 are not taken care of. You know, so you continue to be a shallow breather, you continue to hoard emotional toxicity, you don't sweat, and you don't filter through your kidneys. You know what I'm saying? So emotional toxicity is a problem, what I call the detox delusion, guys. And I know I am the only one talking about this, and I wish more people were to talk about this or open up their mind into what this means. But all of the illness, the ailments, and the imbalances you're feeling right now are, once you dissect them, go down to, do you not so much to the toxicity that you have in your body, but because of your inability to eliminate that toxicity. So call it whatever you want to call it. For some of you, it's increased viral load, heavy metals, as I said, toxicity, like I don't know, glyphosate, pesticides, radiation, EMF, all of this toxicity that for some people come in and out. And Anthony mentions this too when he talks about mold. He says, there could be someone severely healed by mold exposure, and the husband being there making a sandwich with mold and not feeling any symptoms. So I had to stop and go and research why was this happening, because I'm the why girl, right? So I will always ask the whys, and I will always find an answer for you. And what I can tell you now, based on my experience and my clinical experience with you guys, the toxins per se are not the problem. Your inability to eliminate this toxicity is what the problem is. So if you've been hoarding toxicity, that is your problem. And so when you're hoarding toxicity, that means that your elimination pathways are clogged, that your main sewage system of the body, which is the lymphatic system, is congested. Now, someone mentioned in my post, why is it that the lymphatic system didn't make the list? Because what these 5 are the exit point. The lymphatic system is one, and is your only sewage system of the body. There aren't others. The liver is not a sewage system. The liver is the master detoxifier, is like the filter, like in your AC or in your car or in your vacuum cleaner. That's the filter, that sponge that filters toxicity in and out. But the filter doesn't have an exit on its own, doesn't have a mouth on its own where it spits out the toxicity that it filters. And also, anytime we myopically take out one organ out of the whole system, it just makes no sense, because that's not how the body works, right? So your liver filters, but then where's this toxicity filtered by the liver going? There's one only system that is the sewage system of your body, is the lymphatic system. But the lymphatic system, like the liver, doesn't have an exit, doesn't have a mouth. So the lymphatic system, in fact, is pervasive, it's throughout the body from head to toe. The liver has lymphatic vessels within. Every organ has lymphatic vessels within. Why? Because you can't just send the poop of the cells, in an Amazon package down the drain. You need a drain right there, a cellular level, to absorb the waste material of the cells. So that's why we have this very extensive network, which is the lymphatic system, 3 times bigger than the blood system. So the lymphatic system is pervasive, it's everywhere, but doesn't have an exit on its own, right? Like the liver doesn't have an exit. So we need a very complex interrelated system of structures to take this toxicity from when it comes in as to when it comes out. And in the process, things get stuck. So although you, what I call the detox illusion, may think that you are detoxing because you're eating all the right things, when at any point these elements are congested, basically it doesn't matter how much you try to push things out, they're not going out. And God forbid you try to push metals out, which is probably one of the last things you want to do if you have a congested elimination pathways. So you want to stop that. Like you want to stop antiviral activities, because you keep killing these viruses and they have nowhere to go. Like Anthony says, the viral cells, dead cells of the body, the casing, are even more toxic than the live virus itself. So what are we pushing this detoxification, what I call the detox illusion? We think we're detoxing, but truly, you're truly only detoxing if your toxicity goes out. If this is not the case, then you're not detoxing. You're just stirring up toxicity, like just basically cleaning up with the little brush, but not really sucking up the air and vacuum cleaning, right? So you just have this toxicity in the body, and you will feel it. That's why a lot of you feel sicker after the heavy metal smoothie, or start to regress, start to gain weight. Why? The body is giving you signs. The body is dealing with this amount of toxicity that is increasing. Remember, hoarding toxicity is not going anywhere. So the body's trying to find plan B, C, D to try to tame the effect of increased toxicity. In the moment in which you think, well, I should have less toxicity. People come to me and say, Barbara, I've been doing this for 5 years. Shouldn't my numbers go down by now? Well, if your numbers are not going down by now, it's been 5 years, even 3, something is not working, you guys. And most often the answer is that you are not truly detoxing. So that's why I'm so animated about you guys taking care of your elimination pathways, making sure that you look at your lymphatic system and making sure that everything flows, so that all the effort that you're putting into with your antivirals, every detox smoothie, are actually going to have an effect, which is, helping you eliminate this toxicity. But that is only good and true if your elimination pathways are open. If they're not, then you're harming yourself. So 5 elimination pathways, guys. Make sure that you check what you do on them every day, and religiously you take care of each one of them. And as I said, a lot of them have nothing to do with the food, because your breathing has nothing to do with the food, because your bowel, of course, has to do with the food that you eat. And there are things that you can do to get your bowel to eliminate 3 times a day, get your breathing right, get your kidneys to start pushing and filtering toxicity. So if you have any questions, I know there's some of you watching, I'm here. But if not, I will start doing more videos. Now I'm back from vacation, and I'm posting as myself because, Facebook just decided that my professional page, the Barbara Manconi Smith, probably was giving too much good advice and needed to be silenced. So I still have a page, but it doesn't allow me to come live or to post as the Barbara Manconi Smith. So I'm posting and going live as myself, my private page. I know a lot of you, I love you all, and send me so many requests of friendship on my private page, but that is just from my family, and I'm using it right now to come live and communicate with you guys. But I invite you to do 2 things. One, like my public page, the Barbara Manconi Smith, still exists. Come on my website and sign up for the Uncensored newsletter, because there you can get unbiased information that you get nowhere else, because the time we're living in. And 3, join us on MeWe, because I created a community there as well. So I hope this video was useful to you guys, at least to start some thinking about how your elimination pathways are working. And if you need more support, of course, more individualized support, please reach out to me at the barbaramanconismith.com. And we're, of course, starting a new lymphatic reset in August on the 9th, and I would love to have you there if you think that you can use the support. Thank you so much.